So, the start of the talk here, we're going to talk about a guy named Newton. And I'd like you to imagine that your school has access to a personal tutor named Newton. He might be a retired professor, he's deeply knowledgeable, infinitely patient, and willing to work with students anytime, day or night. Because he's retired, he's not worried about money very much. He also knows the class professors, their work, and is able to give answers to almost any question students might have. Sometimes he gets things wrong, but he's only human. And the question I would ask you is, would you welcome Newton into your school? And if I could see a thumbs up, you'd say, oh, we let him talk with our students, or no, we don't want this guy around.
Yeah, thumbs.
Failing on my interaction here. So I think almost everybody would want Newton around. But Newton is actually quite similar to what AI can do in a course. Newton is there. He makes mistakes. He's infinitely patient. He doesn't have to be paid very much. If you can believe the science of LinkedIn, there's a poll which is run, should AI be banned in schools? And what we have is 42% of people saying that it should be banned. The reality is AI is already here. It's not going away. It's not, you should decide, should Newton be welcomed in your classrooms or kept outside? It's actually, how are you going to allow Newton into the classroom?
Yeah. And that's exactly the question. Like, what is the AI strategy at the school? Or sometimes some schools decide, well, let the prof figure it out, right? Because they may have no strategy at all. The best policy is to have an actual idea of what to do with it, because it's there. It can do good, can do wrong, but it's there. So what do you do with it? And one of the main tactics is, well, let's see, right? Let's just wait and see what happens. And as you could imagine, like you could see it in the last couple of years, AI has progressed and has gotten adopted very quickly. So like if you just wait and see as an institution or as a professor for your classroom, what you get is a collection of disjointed processes. So there's no consistency or standards. Outside solutions come in and disturb your unified strategy that you may not have. In fact, that profs start learning on their own, which is actually a pretty good thing, but then it's inconsistent for the students. One prof is doing something, other prof is doing something else. Some profs want to ban AI, other profs embrace it. It becomes confusing. And there's a lot of errors and false starts because there's a bunch of issues surrounding ethical use and legal issues surrounding use of AI if you don't know what you're doing. So that's the wait and see. Or you can have a directed, purposeful integration of AI, which is arguably the best solution, where the whole school is synced up, is directed top to bottom. Everybody knows what they're doing. Everybody gets training. The ethics and legal considerations are taken care of, and so on. So that's much better. And one really interesting use cases about AI integration is what's been done at Khan Academy. This is now 2 months old, approximately. Khan Academy is about 150 million users, nearly 200 countries, penetration, 56 languages. It's a massive online teaching platform for K-12 mostly. And it's integrated ChatGPT 4.0, OpenAI's AI, to do all sorts of stuff. And they integrated that as an AI called Camigo. And it's on a demo perspective, it looks pretty awesome as a way to integrate it. So if they can do it pretty quick, other institutions can. So let's look at the interaction between the student and the AI inside the video that follows.
I'm the founder of Khan Academy. And I'm also the author of a new book about artificial intelligence in education called Brave New Words. And OpenAI invited myself and my son Imran here to try out some of their new technology. So we're curious about how good it might be at tutoring someone in math on Khan Academy. So let's get it started. It's loading up. All right, make sure you can see our screen.
Actually, in this one.
Hello there. I'm here with my son, and I'd love you to tutor him on this math problem, but don't give him the answer. You can ask questions and nudge him in the right direction, but I really want to make sure he understands it himself. And he's here in the room, so you can talk to him directly.
Of course, I'd be happy to help. Let's look at the problem together. Can you first identify which sides of the triangle are the opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse relative to angle alpha?
All right, so I'm pretty sure this is the angle alpha right here, right?
Perfect. That's right. Now, looking at the triangle, which side do you think is the hypotenuse?
Really,
Hypotenuse?
I'm not totally sure. I think it might be this one, but I really am not sure. This side AC.
You're close. Actually, side AC is called the adjacent side to the angle alpha. The hypotenuse is along the side of a right triangle and is directly opposite the right angle. Can you find which one is the hypotenuse?
Oh, okay, I see. So I think the hypotenuse is this really long side from A to B. Would that be correct?
Exactly. Well done. Now that you've identified the hypotenuse, can you identify which side of the opposite side of the angle?
Okay, well, I mean, you told me earlier that this was the adjacent side, and I know that's the hypotenuse, so I'm guessing that this side, BC, is the opposite side.
Great deduction. That's absolutely correct. Now that you've identified all the sides relative to angle alpha, do you remember the formula for finding the sine of an angle in a right triangle?
Yeah, I know that the sine is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse.
Perfect. That's absolutely right. Now, can you apply that formula to find sine alpha in a triangle using the lengths of the sides that we've identified?
Okay, so I mean, you told me that 7, this side of BC, is the opposite side. And then you said that the hypotenuse is the longest side, so that would be this side AB, which is 25. So would the answer be 7 over 25?
Excellent work. That's correct. Sine alpha equals 7 over 25.
Okay, that was enough.
Identifying
So
using this.
the lesson here for us is that just 2 months ago, right after, like very closely after the 4.0 release by OpenAI, the Khan Academy integrated this AI into their systems and started using it as a math tutor and possibly other applications. So it's good enough now. And other competitors, now there's Claude from Anthropic, and there's other AI that are there that can be used inside a university context or a school context to do a variety of things and to do it reasonably well, as long as it's supervised and well designed. The impact of AI in education is not only in personalized practice, like you saw this in this case here, where a student is practicing the trigonometry. In fact, there's some statistics here. 50% of students, according to a study, said that AI provides a better learning experience because they can practice with somebody without having another student and something like that. They can interact with it and ask questions. For personalized interactive learning, AI helps 73% of students understand materials better, according to another piece of research from Tech Report. And from an administrative side of things, because these, most of the popular ones are LLM, so language models. You can shave down a lot of hours of work as a teacher. According to a study by McKinsey, 20 to 40% of time saved, or 13 hours a week, just using AI to do repetitive admin tasks, for example. So that's very valuable. And other statistics for Aquarius, 47% more involvement with the students and 32% less dropout rates for students as well. And the test scores, according to this particular study, it was 23% higher. And this is early stage studies. There's not that many studies going on, but more and more as we go. Go on. So just before we keep going, who am I? Like to speak like this? Well, I am an educator for about 20 years. I'm also a tech executive, and I've been focusing a lot on AI, including in my book, As a Futurist Engineering Paradise, Are You Ready? And I've been focusing on AI as a strategic planning expert for companies and universities over the number of years. And right now I'm working with universities on AI strategy and implementation. One of my current projects is at the National Law University in Meghalaya, India, where we're developing a school of the future with systematic planned approach to AI. And AI is at the center of all the ecosystem and all the systems we're building there to provide easy access to any information, high quality and high quantity of knowledge generation, and to allow correlations never thought of before in the data. So we're breaking how universities work by including AI in everything that we do there, so that we can, go forward with education that is personalized, customized, adapted, and so on. Some of the challenges that I've faced in different projects: integration of AI, ethical implementation, personalized learning, use by profs, breaking down barriers of adoption to AI for staff, for example, these kind of things. And these, what I've found out, go ahead, Bryan, to the next steps, is that all of these challenges are best solved with a hands-on approach. And that's why what we're going to be talking about a little bit later is solutions are typically workshops, or in this case, AI sprints as an ideal solution to get everybody on board to find a solution together while using AI. And that way you make all the you create the solution that will be adopted by the people, and the people are the ones that are creating the solution. So it's really awesome. Bryan?
Who am I? I'm Bryan. I see lots of friendly faces in the audience. Not as many faces as I would like, but I see the names of people. I'm an entrepreneur. That's what I am first and foremost. I've done 11 companies in 6 different countries. I'm on a mission to coach, train 1 million entrepreneurs by 2027. The only way that I'm going to reach that total is using AI. To put the numbers in perspective, I taught 5,000 students last year, which means I have 199 years to go, or I need to go faster. AI allows me to scale teaching, to improve the teaching, and to make it more active. And I work with a little over 100 partners running courses and sprints around the world. Now, the reason for this talk is to talk about the challenges and opportunities of AI in the classroom. Part of my interest got started with actually bringing AI into the classroom. I teach a course on innovation. At the end of the course, all the students need to make a presentation. They're nervous, but they typically have some pretty good content, and they struggle to share it. They lack confidence, they lack expertise. They're scared of talking, scared of getting feedback, scared of being asked questions they don't know. And typically at the end of a course, I have a 40% fail rate. Now, if you can imagine a course with 120 students, each in groups of 5, that means I have a lot of presentations to watch. It's a painful thing. And it's painful for me as a teacher, but it's also painful to watch the students go through it. What I tried to do is try to bring AI into the classroom. And I started by creating an AI-powered pitch template. If some of you want to get it, send me a message. I'm happy to send it over, which streamlines the process of creating high-impact pitches. That helped people go from a blank sheet of paper to something reasonably okay. But really the glory that came is we created a second tool which allowed people to adapt it and then to get feedback from the AI, providing real-time feedback in 14 different areas to rewrite the pitch to get them lots of things. With this, I taught people how to pitch before. They failed 40% of the time. When I brought the AI into the classroom, our failure rate went down to 5%. I'm in the process right now of doing some long-term research to look at the long-term impact on pitching skills. But what we're seeing right now is increased confidence and improved presentation skills with and without AI. Now, what's important to realize in this context is the students were using AI before we did this, but they were still failing. AI is not the solution, but teaching with AI is the solution. And just, to sort of get a dialogue going here a little bit, does anybody want to share a big success or a big failure with AI in the classroom up until now? I can share lots of failures, but I'm supposed to be the expert here, but
Yes,
You can go ahead and write in chat.
I got
Or-
a six.
yeah, go ahead, Ali.
Yeah. So I'm from Lahore, Pakistan, and I'm the founder of Steam Genius Club, robotics and AI kind of stuff for the kids. So I have a success in teaching kids about robotics, AI, and coding, and I've implemented some use case using the Chat GPT model, and I've not gone so far in it, but I got about 30 to 40% success in productivity of the students. They are learning much better. But the real challenge for me is in developing the content. Content creation is still, I guess, a biggest challenge. How the assessments are designed, how the content, customized content is being designed. So there, I need your help as well. So if you can guide us, so that would be great.
Actually, the book from the guy at the Khan Academy, I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Do you remember the name of it, Sylvan?
No, I don't. He mentioned it, but
I'll
gosh.
put it in the chat. He's got some great suggestions on how to bring AI into the classroom and how to develop exercises. The most important thing is about learn by doing exercises. And actually, one of the things that I find is a real challenge within universities is just like we don't teach teachers how to teach usually, especially in higher education, we don't teach them how to bring AI into the classroom either. And I think that's an important opportunity for the future.
it is called Brave New Words.
Yeah. One more thing, can I?
Yeah, go ahead, Ali.
Yeah. So one more thing is about that how you can create a rubrics, formative and summative assessments in the presence of AI. Because now you cannot give straight away essays to the kids. Now you have to change the whole assessment criteria as well. So that is an important thing. Now, the critical thinking, the problem solving abilities, that must be at the forefront, and all other, I must say, the old assessment methods, now they will be gone, or there will be some hybrid model. I don't know, but still I'm testing, and that's why I'm listening to you guys.
Well, I think this falls right into where we are in the discussion. I think it's not just, well, let's have an AI tutor and let's generate new content, let's do rubrics, because we can certainly teach this or you can figure out for yourself to do it by experimentation. But to your point, you're introducing a new tool that is absolutely revolutionary in the classroom. Just like on this slide, we're talking about the old calculator dilemma, which we went through in the late 80s. Most of us probably, like professors were kind of dumbfounded and freaking out, especially with math, because the calculators were available. And the discussion was, well, how do we teach now? We have to change how we're teaching. We have to change how we evaluate. Do we allow the calculator or not? And people, there was a lot of resistance about whether or not that would be a problem for the students when they grew up. Like they won't know how to calculate anymore if they use a calculator. I remember all these conversations. And ultimately, what we did as educators, we figured out a way to include the calculator because the reality was in the workplace, people would be using calculators. And also, you need the students to know how to do math, the fundamentals of math as well. So we found a way to incorporate both into the classroom. So to your point, Ali, with AI, yeah, that means you have to change how you're teaching and change the material. What are you asking for assignments? Because if AI, and we're going to see this a bit in more statistics later, if AI is normalizing the quality of content, because everybody can query the AI and produce content of a certain quality, even though it's not top notch, how is that really a skill that is evaluatable, right? What is actually of value? It's actually using the calculator to do something deeper and farther. So with AI, you can do more. You can ask even more for your students. And we're still figuring that out, which is why most schools don't have an AI strategy. And to our point here, just like with the calculator, we need to formulate that strategy and how we're going to be doing all of this. Zach, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, two things. I totally agree with the calculator. I got a Hewlett-Packard scientific calculator for my 18th birthday just before I started engineering. And I was able to program it so that when I got stuck in the exam, I could step through the program and write out the equation that was needed. So what it was showing was that I could carry the program but not have it in my head. And what I think it's bringing us towards, over the last year, I've done an AI system that takes sales conversations for a sales training company. So they teach people like Cognizant, ThoughtWorks, teach their staff how to sell. And I wrote the AI that would analyze the conversations and be able to put it forward in such a way that it saved the tutors from having to market. And what we found is that AI is changing so quickly at the moment that every 3 months there's a new technique that's coming up. People are struggling as to whether they can share their information with ChatGPT because it's online. So if you're training people in, say, a government department, they wouldn't be able to do it. And the way that this stuff reminds me of what's been most successful over the last 10 or 15 years is the number of music teaching apps. So for instance, I could take my guitar, plug it into my computer, and it will hear me play a song, and it will let me know if I'm playing at the right tempo, if I'm hitting the right notes, if I'm doing it. So I can learn the song, but I don't necessarily learn the theory.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that bit where the AI can get you to a point where you can do what has to be done using feedback loops.
Mm.
And then it's the theory behind it. And I think that raises a question for education. Do we need to have the theory on things that the machines can do for us? So if you've got...
I have a really strong point of view on that one. Is AI without domain expertise gives you really bad results.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily bad in terms of they're wrong, but you're not getting the maximum out of it. So in fact, the more you get expert at using AI, the more domain expertise actually counts and the more theory counts within the process. And I think, that's going to be the skill of the future, is to actually take good expertise and leverage it and get even better rather than just replacing the expertise. And we'll see it in just a second.
Yeah. There's some good statistics I can add to this. The principle is that AI is a tool. And if you are indeed the expert, you know whether or not what the AI is creating or what its feedback, whatever, you know if it's good or not. If you are good enough, if you're an expert. So you can iterate with it and make things much better. Go ahead, Bryan.
So yeah, this is Jason, you had a question.
I did. It's actually more of a comment than a question. So I think one thing that's being left out of this conversation is when you talk about AI agents changing all the time, that's always going to happen. There are going to be new iterations. I think what we really need to look at is what is it going to cost the university to have its own private AI stack, and how are they going to create a data lake? How are they going to feed that? How are they going to clean that? I mean, that the entire process of actually using AI in a large organization is not cheap. And to think that all we're going to do is switch from Perplexity to GPT to Claude day after day in a classroom would to me would seem a bit havoc forming.
So
Yeah, we're dealing with this at our university right now. But that could be a side chat about how to actually do that.
Yeah, so if I may come back to you, Jason, I think the answer was developed over 100 years ago at the Bauhaus. The Bauhaus teaching method is still in use by 95% of art schools and design schools throughout the world. And when we think of teaching as a large organization, what we're missing is the fact that we can bring studio into the organization. So a large organization will have its production processes that it flows through, the portfolio being produced. And it's like buildings, but above that, there's other stuff that people can use. Instead of saying the studio is a distinct space, the studio is a part of time that we can use. So I, in my own working day, will set aside 15-minute breaks every 2 hours. And in that time, I'll go off and do something that is studio-based or classroom-based. So at the moment, I'm learning how to build your own ChatGPT version 2 network by watching tutorials. The tutorial lasts an hour, so I know if I've got 4 sessions in a day, I'll get through the tutorial in that time. I get the code from it so I can learn it. But then the other part that comes in is how do you share all the different types of information that are coming in? So what I foresee is that in about 4 to 5 years, there will be a standards war that splits out where you'll have Microsoft, Facebook, Google, and perhaps Salesforce all competing for the major industries and putting their AI in, which by that time should have matured, because 6 years is the 10,000 hours that it takes to get the experience to become an expert in something. And the way that you bring the different outputs from the studio together is to use a whole social media platforms inside the company where people can share their ideas. It also means that I think we have to change away from the Scrum-based mentality to use a game more like cricket or rounders, where it's a safe haven game. It's more inclusive. Everybody gets a shot to bowl, to bat, to catch. And that splits into it leads to the business models that came after Scrum, like Seki and Bar, by Nonaka and Takuchi.
Zach, I'm going to sort of stick on our times. I think you're raising really good points. And I think, for example, Jason also raised a really good point. But I think the most important question here is not what the future is going to look like, but should you be planning for that future or not? So what happens is you have a choice, which is either you wait and see what happens, or you actually plan for the future. And what we're recommending is actually to take a proactive stance for the future and at least make a good guess on where things are going. I had a case study here, and I'm looking at the time that's here. Do you want me to skip this, Sylvan, or do you want me to go through it?
No, go through it.
Okay. So my area of focus is around innovation and creativity. There was a study that was run by some people in my alma mater with Cornell and Wharton around using AI for creative tasks. And I wanted to see their testing was basically give people AI, don't give them people AI, and see what the results come out. And actually, what I think is you have to do something which is a little bit more in terms of giving them domain expertise. So we looked at a test which was creativity. We had students working alone. We had students working with AI. We had students being taught how to define a question for AI, working with AI. And then we had a last group which were given supplemental domain expertise to run some questions of creativity. What we had is we used a tool. It's a tool which exists online. If at the end of this you download the slides, you'll get a link to it. But basically, it's a tool where you put in a challenge and it pops out a whole bunch of results on the other side. It's actually lots and lots and lots of ideas. What we did in our research is we generated a whole bunch of ideas coming from different places, one which was from human beings, some of them working with AI, some of them without, and some of them primarily from AI. And the results that came out of this, which were very interesting, is in terms of the average quality of the ideas, okay, and the ideas were rated and score 0 to 10. 10 is perfect, 0 is horrible. There was a difference, and that is when you use AI, your ideas get marginally better. So we have here, this is with out AI, and we have a little bit of difference here. The differences are statistically significant, but they're not meaningfully different. So basically, whatever you do, the averages are about the same. A second thing that comes up in terms of evaluating creativity is the novelty of ideas that come out. And what we took was those 5,000 ideas and evaluated them in terms of the similarity or how much variance there were in the ideas. And there's a tool there called cosine similarity, which measures the distances between an idea or a statement. So for example, this is a very happy person and this is a happy person are pretty close. This is a happy dog is actually not so far away, except it's a dog. And today is a sunny day is a really long ways away. And what you can imagine is you evaluate ideas according to the same standards. And what we can do is we can look at the similarity of ideas. And what we see here is there's a big win for human beings over AI. Human beings get a lot more diversity of ideas and less similarity. So I'd say about the same, more diversity, we should give up on this thing of AI. But there's a second thing here, which is about domain expertise coming in. And what we're looking at is we said, look, do you want 5,000 ideas or do you want top ideas? So what we did is we said, look, 5,000 ideas. We set up a line and said, look, we're going to measure how many of them are in the top 5%. What we see here is a dramatic difference. So the human beings working by themselves hit about 1 in 100 ideas on average. Human beings working with ChatGPT, a 1.5. Being able to formulate a clear question, they got about twice as good. But when they started using domain expertise, they got somewhere between 5 and 8 times as good. This is not the number of ideas generated, but it's the frequency of a top idea. And the issue here is not just that AI is there, but it's the fact that you use ways to explain how to use AI. So for example, all of these here are different types of creative techniques, which actually you have to know enough to at least ask about using them. In this case, AI alone is not the solution. It's domain expertise plus AI. And quite clearly, the future is about domain expertise collaborating with AI. It's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI and humans collaborating to achieve better results than they ever came up with before. And here, this is for you, Sylvain.
Yeah, just a few statistics before we move on to the next section. If you look at the knowledge of generative AI, it was about 2 months ago, according to studies, about 68% of students claim to have some knowledge. So a lot of them use AI, not necessarily as expert, but they have knowledge of it. Only 30% of professors, university, college, said the same thing, and even fewer deans. And something remarkable is that students, 75% of students would use AI even if it was restricted, even if it was banned. So they hide it, right? They see the value of it. So without guidance, the students will use AI no matter what. But without your guidance, they'll have problems with bias, hallucination, legal issues, and so on, because they don't know how to use it well. And that's the real problem in the classroom when there's no direction about AI. So, and the other component is that not every AI is good for every job, right? Like we're mostly, all of us are talking about the large language models like ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. But if you want to create music, yes, you can ask ChatGPT to create lyrics and create you a song. It's not going to create the song, but it's going to create something. It's going to try, but it's not the right AI for it because it's not trained for that. Well, there's Suno for music creation. There's Midjourney for image generation and many others. Gamma to do quick presentations. You got big tech like Meta, Google, and Office, Microsoft that are integrating their own AI inside their ecosystems, inside their software in creative ways. So if you want to do a certain projects, yes, your domain expertise is going to be excellent, but you also have to have a certain level of knowledge about which AI to use and how to use them properly. So it actually is a simple solution. Is, well, what tool are you going to be using? And it's not a one AI fits all. So you got to learn a lot of AI and got to experiment with it. And this here is kind of pointing out what Bryan was saying earlier about AI and needing the expertise as well. What you're seeing on the left is that if you're looking at bottom half skilled participants in generating creative solutions, and AI is actually going to perform better than the bottom skilled participants on its own. So you just ask AI something, it's gonna do better. The top half skilled participants have a smaller gap, but you end up basically getting the same result. It's kind of like balancing the field, right? Like the lower denominator skilled worker will benefit more from AI than people that have more expertise. So that's great. On the other side of things, which is the over-reliance component on the right side, is that if you just let AI do something on its own with you get worse results than humans actually to work on their own in general. So it reinforces the fact that you have to have the expertise and have to know how to use the AI properly to actually get the optimal results, especially if you're at the expert level. So you can't make good decisions without AI, about AI without having used AI. You got to understand what it is and what its capabilities are. And it's not hard to learn AI because it's, you just have a conversation, you're chatting with it. Easy to learn, difficult to master. So you need to know how to prompt, which AI to select, when to use it, when not to. You need to understand the ethics, misuse, and hallucinations, and how those occur, and how to validate and supervise. There's a lot of AI updates, and basically it's an assistant. You have to treat it like a human assistant that doesn't know as much as you do. It's not an expert. So you have to supervise the AI. If you can do that, it can do things really, really quick, and it can support you in efficiency. So the other bit here is like, excuse me. The professors are typically not prepared, but they're willing to learn. They want to be trained about AI. They understand the issues inside the classroom.
So I think, the challenge that comes up, Sylvain was saying, is you can't make decisions about the future of AI without knowing how to use it. Typically, the people who know the least are the most senior people in the organization. What we've been doing with a lot of success is running AI-based sprints to talk about the strategic issues on the future of education. And the question is, how can you solve tough strategic questions like the ones we raised at the beginning, The answer is simple. You get together and you work on it. One of the best ways to deal with these kind of questions is to run a sprint. And a sprint is a methodology where you actually take a problem, you go through a structured process step by step. It's popularized by a guy named Jake Knapp. Day one, you understand. Day two, you build ideas. Day three, you check them out and go forward. And the reason why this works is there's focus, there's lots of ideas, and there's real decisions. The other reason why they're popular is they're pretty easy. All you really need are the length and the deliverables and a process, and things work out pretty well. Anybody can lead them, and even when you do them wrong, you get pretty good results. Now, one of the things that we've been doing is we've been looking at ways that we can take AI and put it into this process. And we've developed a whole toolkit of AI tools. And what we're doing is trying to figure out what we can add within the process to correct some of the challenges within the sprint process. We add things to improve market understanding, to improve defining problems, mechanical creativity. I'm just going to squeeze through these quickly. Essentially, what we've been doing is to take the 5-day sprint, we squish it together by adding AI. Adding AI, we're able to do almost all the things that we do in a sprint more effectively. But more importantly, we add a little bit of time before and after the sprint. The things that make a sprint effective is if you have time to prepare. The thing that make a sprint effective is if you have time to actually let the ideas soak in before you go forward. And what we've put in place is a value. Our value add here is actually we help organizations identify their strategic questions. We try to put them in a process where the questions are sprintable, i.e. you can solve them in a period of time. We got a bunch of tools. We bring in experts for the time that you need to develop the ideas, and we bring together some call to action sessions. If you want, you can download a copy of the presentation. Sylvan, if you put the link in again for the copy of the presentation, that would be good. Yeah. You can go to the toolkit, try it out, and see what comes up. Essentially, our promise to educators and universities around the world is we promise to help organizations learn more and do more than they ever thought possible. You'll learn about how AI works. You'll learn to use AI in a practical, hands-on setting. But equally important, you get to discuss the key strategic issues. You get to get aligned, you build some ideas, evaluate those solutions, and make some real decisions. Now, the budgets for this, we've done a number of these talks within the education sector and said, well, these budgets are expensive. We're not big organizations. We do have other solutions. We do one-day sessions. We do remote sprints and things like that. But it's a lot more than just us coming up. What we do in these processes is before we do the sprint, we do an organizational assessment, alignment on objectives. We do the sprint together. We bring in the experts, we bring in the tools, and we help you put together some sort of a go to action process. And then afterwards, we make sure that things come together. Now, if you'd like, you can give us some feedback on the talk today. You can reach out and ask some questions. If you go to that feedback form, you get a copy of my book. You get a copy of Sylvan's book. You get an access to the toolkit. You get an access to a whole collection of tools around the sprint. And we also have some news, which Sylvan's going to share with you.
Yeah, it's pretty simple. We have developed an AI for education assessment. So it's basically a self-assessment where you're measuring competency and usage of AI. So in different categories, measure where your benchmark is as far as use, and also in your organization if there's more than one person, but also measuring some KPIs, like how much time do you spend in admin, your enjoyment at your work, and all sorts of stuff like that, with the intent of identifying where the gaps may be, so you can tailor a workshop-based sprint or something else to what you actually need. And then later on in the system we're using, which is called psychometrics, we can do a measurement later, and then you can do a delta analysis. What has happened between the measurement where you just figured out their gaps and also the KPIs for education, and later on when things have been, your strategy hasn't been implemented, you've learned certain things, and you've seen your students reacting and engaging. So, and then you can have access to that data that allows you to see the impact of the changes you've made inside the organization. So that's pretty good. We also have an assessment that's an organizational AI readiness assessment, which is coming up soon. That's more for evaluating the organization. And then after these assessments, if you want to, we can lay these out, or at least the education assessment, with you right away, or in a couple of days, if you provide us your information. And I will do a follow-up event to understand your AI assessment results. So we just get together and talk about the results. And we have 2 workshops coming up in September that allows for you guys to prepare an AI implementation action plan for yourself or your institution, actively building those up using AI and with me and Bryan. So we're doing all these things to help you guys out. So here's the link in the feedback. There's going to be some ways to contact us to ask for these things.
So, one of the things that comes up is, who do you learn the most from? You learn the most from your peers. The idea of bringing your peers together, talking together about the challenges you face, I think is an incredible opportunity. We can help you with direct programs, sprints, and things like that. This will be a program where you bring you together with other people. Now, for us, we've got a clear view on the future. AI is a part of the future. We'd like to help you make proactive decisions for the future by focusing on the key types of strategic questions you're facing. A sprint is a powerful way to do that. A sprint with AI, where you actually learn about how to use AI while you're solving those questions, is probably an even more powerful way to do that. We'd love to work together with you. You can contact us for a free consultation. You can contact us just to have a coffee together if you want. It'd be great to have physical, real coffees together in the future, but it seems that we're still doing this quite remotely. And we've got a few minutes here. If anybody has any questions, I saw there was a hand up and I've sort of lost it in the Zoom. Do you see who raised their hand, Sylvain?
No, I don't see the person anymore because I think the hand raise brings them up.
Okay.
I don't know who that was.
What do people think here? What's your feeling in terms of where we're going and things like that? Questions you have? Concerns? Peter, you're ready to talk. I feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I suppose, I'm quite heavily involved in the innovation space myself, and of course it's human-centric design. So getting out of the building and talking to the humans is fundamental to the process. From my perspective, both in terms of establishing the problem space and then obviously, getting some feedback on any solution ultimately that might be there to be tested. So I suppose I'm just wondering about the AI aspect of that.
Well, there's 2 parts of AI. Actually, there's one thing that we're using AI for, which you might find sacrilegious, Peter. We are using AI to do a lot of synthetic user testing. So, for example, imagine you're putting together a strategy for the university, and before you present it to the university, you'd like to get feedback. We make up fake people, and we get the AI to provide feedback. And I used to think that would be a silly idea, but actually it works really, really well. So that is a part of using AI in the feedback process. The other thing we've done, which I find is very good, is actually training people to figure out the questions that other human beings are going to ask. So using AI as sort of a practice round in the research. And we also have a tool to allow AI to help you write an interview guide, which makes you more structured and more formal in the way that you're going out and talking to people. A question of curiosity, have you ever used synthetic users, Peter?
No, I haven't. And just to say, I mean, here, look, I can show you that. But
Work on your desk. That's good.
yeah, but we tend to focus more on jobs to be done as the approach, and I'm a huge fan of jobs to be done. I have to say, I like to hang around the problem space quite a while, and as I say, it's picking up on those moments and probing people as you discuss with them. But no, I haven't used synthetic, so but it's for that reason that I like the approach I do use.
So I'm going to put a note. So people ask a second question, but there's a really good book. I don't know if you've ever come across it, called Competing Against Luck.
Yeah.
And I think it actually is probably one of the very, very best book on how to actually think about the future of your business and involve the user, make sure you're doing a job that somebody wants to have done. Okay, other questions? Thank you, Peter.
No problem.
Right. So, Brian, about your sprint model, how do you distinguish it with the design thinking model? There are a few similarities, and then I can see that sprint can give something better. So, how you can distinguish that?
You say potato, I say potato. They're all the same, honestly.
Okay.
Design thinking is the same as the scientific method. Sprint is the same. I mean, they're all the same thing. Basically, you figure out what you want to do, get some insights, test those things out, improve and get better. To a large extent, that's the design thinking model as well. And all we're doing is by following the sprint methodology, is forcing you down a structured process. And I think a lot of the design thinking methods are really valuable in developing insights and better thinking about your problems and challenges. And I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think it's sorry to jump in here. What's important, I think, in the sprint model that we presented here is, like Bryan said, it's like you end up with creating something using AI, so you're hands-on, leveraging different techniques by using with a facilitator. You present it with your peers, you're building something together, and then you iterate to a certain degree, right? And then you end up with something that is actually a solution to a challenge you have. So you're coming away from the sprint with a lot of experience, new knowledge, new tangible use cases about what you care about, and a product basically at the end that you can use and bring to your organization and do something with. And I think that's to me being very practical and working in an area where we never have enough time. That saves a lot of time and experimentation on your own. So you just spend that 2.5 day or that whole week with the soaking and everything, get something done, get something out. Now you're off to the races and you can use it. And I think that's very valuable. Nav, I think he was the one that had the question earlier.
So then, can I do the following? So aware of people's timings. So we said this would be 1 hour. And I know a lot of you are polite and don't want to leave while somebody's still talking and things like that. So what I'd like to do is let you go if you want to go. And then we're going to come to Nav's question and we'll stick around for another 10 minutes and see if other people have questions. So if you have to go, no problem. What I would ask you to do is please copy the feedback thing. We really need to get feedback on how we're doing this. And now we're over to you, Nav. And I'm sorry, I lost a bunch of your audience here, but I'd love to hear your question.
A second. Yeah. Hello, gentlemen.
Yes. Hi, Nav, we hear you.
Go ahead.
Hi, gentlemen. Actually, it's like an opportunity for me for talking with you. Actually, right, I have a doubt. As you can see, we know, right, today kids are future professionals, right? I have that doubt regarding like what are the ways and what are the initiatives that we can take so that these kids can understand more about artificial intelligence and they will become more efficient about artificial intelligence. What can be the initiatives that can be taken by us?
I think it's a pretty easy solution. I mean, it's realizing it's part of the future and actively bring it into the classroom and use it as part of the teaching program, rather than having it something outside the classroom.
Okay.
For example, when I was doing the work on teaching pitching, they all had
Mhm.
access to AI, but it wasn't
Yes.
helping them. It's only when you brought it into the class and you think about it strategically that you get a big difference. And I think it's the role of the universities, I think it's the role of the professors to come up with a strategic plan on how AI is going to be used rather than a reactive plan, because it's going to change so fast over the next year. And if you don't have a plan, you're going to get rolled over. So I don't know if that's an answer to your question, but I think it's a sentiment. Plan for the future, prepare for the future, think strategic.
Okay, the
I
major
think I have another
reason,
example for that. Oh, go ahead, Nav. I don't want to cut you off.
yeah, the major reason why I'm asking Vinay, right? In some parts of a globe, there are some areas where they will not promote artificial intelligence and they don't have that much access to artificial intelligence. Actually, I have a team of 4 to 5 people where I want to take that initiative of taking this artificial intelligence into, like, right, into the 50th grade, starting from 5th grade or 6th grade students. Those were kids. I am planning for taking that initiative of taking artificial intelligence into for those students. I want to listen from you, gentlemen, like what will be the best steps to be taken as they were kids, right? Like 6th and 7th grade students, 7th class students. I want to listen from you.
I don't
Yeah,
have maybe
let me take this, if you don't mind, Brian. At any level, right, students will pick up tools like AI or whatever. They're just gonna learn it from their friends, whatever they say, hey, I can use this for this homework, and you unguided, right? It's out there, it's free, it's
Yes.
available, right? So
Yes.
we know this. And the professors have to be aware of this, and they painfully are right now. So you need to direct that energy, right? Give a student a hammer, it's going to hammer stuff. It won't build a house. It's going to hammer things everywhere. It's going to make holes. It's going to experiment, right? It's the same thing. This is a tool. So, oh, look, I wrote an essay. No, you did not.
Yes.
You don't know what the essay is about. You just asked ChatGPT and wrote something, right? So we have to be aware of the AI and guide, to Brian's point, like, okay, what are we actually going to learn using this tool? This is how you hold a hammer. It's meant to bang on nails, and you do these things with it. You don't do these other things with it, right? There's some AI cases where you shouldn't go there, and sometimes there's even barriers by OpenAI and Meta, where if you ask certain questions, it says no, you can't, we can't answer this, right?
Yeah.
Like there's the teacher has to say, okay, AI is out there. Here's how you use it. And in 3 months, when the new version of AI with new capabilities comes out, the teacher has to say, okay, now you can do this now with this. Here's how you do this with this.
Okay.
And it has to be part of the education for, if anything, in the workforce, people like bosses, governments will insist on you using AI because it's a productivity multiplier. And if it's used well, it's going to be it's a quality of production multiplier. So professors, especially if it's high school or university, but elementary school as well, they have to teach the students the tools that allow them to learn. And if they have an AI strategy at the school, well, structure the strategy, like create AI tutors that do tutor a certain way, for example, and give those tools to the students so they can learn better and faster on their own without the TA or the professor. Give them ways to write or ways to critical think, make them analyze the outputs and feedback and stuff like that. It's very different. So the challenge here is that most institutions, most professors are just coming to grasp with the basics of AI's existence right now.
Yes.
And what we need to do, and this is the purpose of the sprints, the purpose of the workshops, these things that we're suggesting, it's like get the experts in, get us in there that know this stuff, and let's train the institution in how to iterate so that they can show the students and show themselves how to be more productive, how to deal with administration, automation, save their time so they can spend more time with the students, more engagements person to person, give them the tools. How do you evaluate? Like Ali was mentioning, you have to restructure your whole curriculum. Yes, that too.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot of work to be done, and we're here to help.
Yeah, because right, in many parts of global in institutions also there is no part of artificial intelligence now also. It needs to be started from scratch.
So what we're going to do is we're going to call it here. So I think for me, if I was to answer your question, it's about teaching a learning mindset and how AI is a part of that learning mindset. How do you use AI to enhance the way that you learn? I want to thank all of you on a sunny afternoon in Europe.
Okay.
A fantastic day for joining us here today.
Thank you.
I encourage you to fill out the feedback form. I encourage you to reach out and chat with us. We'd love to talk with you. And I want to thank everybody and wish you a very good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I'm from India.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yeah. Bye, gentlemen. Thanks for your answers.
You're
Ciao.
welcome. Ciao.
కన్నా నీది వాయిస్ బ్రేక్ అవుతుంది ఓకేనా నేను కాల్ బ్యాక్ చేస్తా ఇప్పుడే